Okay, so unless you live in a cave, everybody sees rainbow stuff everywhere. It's Pride Month. And so I want to ask you about your op-ed, Pride Month, and why schools are sexualizing children.
Yes, and that piece can be found in Town Hall. Thanks for mentioning it so people can get more of the details. But first, let's be frank, and I mentioned this in the piece. Let's be frank about the big picture in America. Political leaders, right, with bureaucrats in tow, have been abandoning the spirit and function of our constitutional republic and sliding toward this socialist Marxist agenda for at least 100 years. Remember when Obama said we need to fundamentally transform America? Well, this is what these globalists want to do. And they are impacting many nations, including ours. So the key question in education is why? Why have public schools taken on this dramatic, life-changing social and sexual mission to seemingly lure children from their biological identity as male and females? Without parental involvement. Like I've said many times before, a 5, 6, 7-year-old in kindergarten, first grade does not come to school inquiring about how to be a different gender. This is all introduced to them and pushed upon them. So this can't just be the latest fad or societal craze. So I looked and have since found out that a number of people have started talking about this. About 100 years ago, Hungarian Education Commissioner Lukács brought Marxism to the West. He actually modified it for the West. He made a strategic decision to capture the hearts and the minds and ultimately the allegiance of the next generation. How? By sexualizing children in the schools. This was his concept. So if you think about what happens when kids are separated from their birth sex, so that's a core identity item, and then they're separated from their families, and you see that in these schools. They don't want the families included in this conversation at all. And they even tell children, don't tell your parents. They keep things secret, and it separates them as a result from their faith, which often a core belief in God relates to biological sex. I'm not, that is a thing. Not for everyone, but it's a core thing when you get down to it. So this enabled the state to have influence and ultimately control over the hearts and minds of the children. He employed this, and I can share about what the Biden administration has been doing that makes it very fishy, whether or not to decide that in fact it's happening here as well.
It is remarkable the amount of momentum that the Biden administration is putting behind this. And today, there are several states that have gone out and tried to ban some of these things. For instance, not allowing children to go have transgender surgeries without their parents' consent. But today, a federal judge ruled, he put the Florida law on hold, saying gender identity is a real phenomenon. I want to get your reaction to that. The courts seem to be headed for a collision that probably ends up at the Supreme Court, right?
I would like to see this go to the Supreme Court. I'd like to think I have confidence in the justices and the majority opinion there. Let's hope we can have that confidence in them. I think it's very dangerous, and I'm not very happy with what I'm seeing coming out in the courts in some instances. So I'm hoping we can maintain the integrity of that branch of our government, because we already know that the executive branch has truly put children in harm's way with this agenda. You may remember President Biden signed on the first day an executive order that supported LGBTQ, and they do it under this banner of, not wanting to have them feel marginalized, right? And then they created a White House toolkit on transgender equality. I just think that's such an odd thing to do on your first day in office as a president. And then, of course, his administration gets behind it, the U.S. Department of Education, implementing related curricula and resources because they don't like it to be under the banner of curricula. As one school board member told me here in Arizona, it's the supplemental materials. And so there again, they skirt the edges and try to get all these books and handouts and lessons and things that children act out in the classrooms all around gender and LGBTQ Meanwhile, our kids are failing in school. And it's so sad to see that this agenda has co-opted the classrooms and the bathrooms of the schools in America.
Tamara, I want to go straight into this Target controversy. A lot of people saw the videos a few weeks ago that went viral of the tucking underwear, among other things. These were items for children that were kind of lending themselves to what you were saying about indoctrinizing and sexualizing children. And then I just saw a news story that there are about 200 organizations, GLAAD being one of them, Human Rights Campaign, which don't even get me into the name of that organization and how opposite it is from what they actually do. But they have joined forces with about 200 other organizations calling on Target to denounce extremism. Then we heard the story that there were bomb threats by extremists on the right. Then to come to find out, it actually wasn't those folks who called in the bomb threats. It was someone who was angry that Target removed those items from the front of their store. Parents just want to protect their children from things like this. It seems to me it's the other side that's calling for violence, calling in these fake bomb threats. Where does it end?
Exactly. They set these things up and then they become the victim. And that's what the left loves to do. It's this whole agenda that they have when they talk about equality for trans, and how it's a one-sided thing where they want to force people, kids, whether it's kids in schools or parents or at the office, or just in the neighborhood, they want to give people this impression that they have to fully embrace the LGBTQ and trans lifestyle, or they are not loving, they're not kind. Now, I think all of us would agree, we love all people. I love all people. I want my children to be kind and loving to all people, regardless of life choices. But there's a big difference between that and being shamed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this whole movement started with please just accept us, treat us as equals. Then it became equal rights, and now it has turned into something that I don't think any of us look for our children. Tamara Ferris, Senior Advisor for Strategic Partnerships at FreedomWorks. We love having you on. We appreciate your input. Everybody, we've got a few more blocks, so